Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, a lot to talk about, obviously. Tremendous amount of news over the last 72 hours since the show on Friday. Battling a little bit of a cold, as you can tell. My nasal passages a little congested. My throat is a bit sore and raw. Nothing major, but if I sound a little off, it's because the Kuhner man, well, I'm sick. But don't worry, my friends, I will battle through it, I promise. So, finally, the gloves are starting to come off in the war, and it truly is a war between rogue activists. These are not judges anymore. These are Democrat activists, Democrat partisans, in many ways, Democrat, and I'll explain why I say this word, Democrat insurrectionists masquerading, pretending to be judges against the Trump administration. So, on Friday, to the shock and horror of the entire media, the Democratic Party, and a couple of rhinos, very uncomfortable, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi announced the arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan. She is a Milwaukee County judge, a circuit judge. Now, the first thing you need to know about her is that she is not a real judge. She is a Democrat. She has given a ton of money to Democrat causes. She was the executive director of Catholic Charities, a pro-illegal immigration group. To me, they're basically in the human trafficking business for southeastern Wisconsin. So they slap on a robe, and she decided to join La Résistance, the resistance against Trump. Now, I want you to listen to what happened, because this is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that the left would defend her, that a single Democrat or a single so-called journalist would defend her, is beyond sick, twisted, and perverse. So, in her courtroom, the week before Friday, before the arrest, she had an illegal alien. Now remember, this is an illegal alien from Mexico. He has been deported several times. He has come back to the United States repeatedly. That's already a felony. This is a man with charges as long as my arm. He is a wife beater. He has been charged with suffocation, strangulation, battery, domestic abuse, not just of one, but of multiple women. Those victims were sitting in that very courtroom, looking to her and looking to the legal system to dispense justice to this animal. And that's what this man is. He's an animal. His name is Eduardo Luis Ruiz. So, Eduardo Flores Ruiz. Flores Ruiz was there in front of the judge as they were slowly beginning to adjudicate the case against him. ICE agents want him. They want him for numerous crimes. They want him because he needs to be deported. He committed numerous felonies. He came into this country over and over again after being deported. ICE agents were waiting to arrest him. Now, this is very important. They were not and never were in the courtroom. They were in the public hallway. Judge Dugan, this left-wing whack job, finds out, and this is according to multiple witnesses, including court deputies who witnessed it firsthand. So there's no getting around the truth of what happened. She hears that ICE is waiting to pick this guy up after the court proceeding is done. She loses her mind. According to the witnesses, she began to shake. She began to get extremely angry, furious. She then ran to the hallway and began to badger and rail against these ICE agents, saying, "You have no business being here. On what grounds are you here? Do you have a warrant?" Now, this is also molto importante. The ICE agents, and I want to repeat this twice, because this is why she's going to go to jail, showed her a warrant for his arrest. They showed the judge, let me repeat it, a warrant for the arrest of Eduardo Flores Ruiz. She's like, oh, so they have legal grounds now to grab him, detain, and deport. So what she then did was she told the ICE agents and the DEA, FBI agents who were helping ICE make this arrest to go and see a different judge, the so-called chief judge. And the reason why she told them, go to the other judge, right down the hall. Right down the hall on the left. Talk to that person and they'll get you all squared away. She then ran back into the courtroom, stopped all court proceedings, and then did something that is never done. She instructed this animal, remember, this wife beater that we know of, God knows the other crimes he's committed, and his scumbag lawyer to exit the courtroom through a private door, a private jury door through the back. She harbored him. She concealed him. She tried to help him evade capture and detention by FBI and ICE. And so she helped him get out the back door. He then gets out through the back door with his lawyer. He begins to run. There is now a chase on. Literally, they're chasing this perpetrator. Luckily, the FBI and ICE were waiting. They knew she may try to pull a stunt like this. They chased him down on foot. They captured both him and his lawyer. So he is now in detention. But according now to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, and they are completely right, she was concealing, she was harboring a criminal illegal alien. She deliberately obstructed ICE. She obstructed this proceeding to go after and capture him. She aided and abetted his attempted escape. And by doing so, once you let a criminal out and there is now a foot pursuit, someone could have been shot. Someone could have been killed. There could have been an exchange of gunfire. Either officers could have been killed, he could have been killed, his lawyer could have been killed. That courtroom is in a very congested area of Milwaukee. There are people outside, families, men, women, children. Somebody could have gotten killed. They captured him. He is now detained. He is on his way to being deported again back to Mexico. But on Friday, the FBI went and arrested Judge Hannah Dugan on multiple felony counts. And now you would think, after her shameful, disgraceful behavior, clearly, openly violating the rule of law, openly aiding and abetting criminal illegal aliens, engaging, as I said on X, in naked treason. Remember, what did the Democrats say for the last 4 years ad nauseum? No one is above the law. Suddenly now, judges are above the law? Suddenly now, according to the media and the Dems, this is fascism. Trump's arresting judges. How dare he? This is Hitler. We warned you. Hitler's rising. No. This judge engaged in criminal gangbanger activity. There's no other way to put it. She broke multiple laws. So let me get this straight. Judges now are above the law? Judges can break the law whenever they feel like it? So now they're there to help illegals escape ICE and being detained and deported by ICE? And deliberately lying and misleading law enforcement to help them escape? I don't think so. What this arrest does is it now sends a very clear message. Let me ask all of you right out of the gates. The left is saying that Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, the FBI, essentially the Trump administration, had no right and no business to be arresting Judge Dugan. That this should never have happened in a courtroom, near a courtroom, and that she did fundamentally nothing wrong, and that by arresting her, this is a direct assault on the judiciary, and that, according to them now, and this is the theme they're running with, the mantra, it's been all weekend, nonstop, that this arrest is the beginning of a constitutional crisis, the beginning of an authoritarian dictatorship in which opponents of Trump, judges that rule against him or judges that oppose his deportations, now are going to be sent, I swear to you, they're calling them concentration camps. I can play you the cuts. Anyway, they're going to be sent to jail, into gulags, into concentration camps, and Chuck Schumer now has come out and said, we must impeach Trump. The Democrats now say, we must impeach Trump. Every leading Democrat now says, we must and we will impeach. They are now running on impeachment all the way until the November of next year. So he's barely into his 100 days. In fact, he's technically even not in his first 100 days. That's going to be tomorrow, or is it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Wednesday will be his official 100 days. And already now they're calling for full-scale impeachment. So, listen now. This is Pam Bondi, Attorney General on Fox News, saying, let's be very clear. This is why we have charged her with multiple federal crimes. Judge Dugan is not above the law. Roll cut 1, Mike.
This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up 2 people, a guy and a girl, beat the guy, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out, she goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom, you're not going to believe this, takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's really unbelievable. It reminds me, in fact, very much of what a case here in Massachusetts, what was it, 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago now, with Shelley Joseph, where she did almost the exact same thing. So this is nothing new for these moonbat judges. But notice now how the Democrats are, all of them now are okay with wife beaters. Have you noticed? It's incredible what's happened over the last couple of weeks. Suddenly now they defend and love and support wife beaters or domestic people who perpetrate domestic violence, domestic abusers. They love these guys. They protect these guys. So it was Abrego Garcia, the wife beater. They're making a pilgrimage to him now. So he's the cause célèbre. And now this guy, Flores Ruiz, another guy who likes to slap women around and beat them to a pulp. I mean, these people have become sick. Honestly, sick. Like I said, they're no longer the Democrat Party. It's Dems 13. That's what they have become, the party of MS 13, murderers and rapists. That's what they've now become in their hatred for Trump. Now, remember, because this is not a small detail, this is what's going to put her in prison for 5 years. It's not just that she shot out into the hallway and yelled and screamed at ICE and the FBI and you're not going to touch this guy, but they showed her the warrant. In fact, they showed it to her twice. So she knew that there was a warrant out for his arrest. And remember, it's not just on all other charges. He has come back into the country multiple times after being deported. That's a felony. That's a felony. And then she directs them to go to the chief judge down the hall so that to distract them so she can get this guy, remember, who has now beaten 2 people, suffocated them, strangled them, punched them 30 times. We're talking massive domestic violence, battery. The guy's a thug. And she helps him escape through the private back door. And you're going to tell me she's not breaking the law? You're going to tell me she doesn't deserve to go to jail? I mean, I'm sorry. What are the Democrats arguing? What's the argument? I mean, they can yell, this threatens the rule of law. It's a judge. You don't arrest a judge. But you arrested a president. You raided his home, guns drawn. You seized his property. You charged him again and again and again and again. You arrested him multiple times. So a former president, no problem. Some low-level Milwaukee County judge, suddenly democracy is ending, the sky is falling. You phony, you frauds, you. Remember, they were the ones that said it a million times. No one is above the law. Judges are not above the law. Listen now to Pam Bondi. Roll cut 2, Mike.
When you see these judges trying to obstruct your efforts to make this country safer, what is your message to them?
We are going to prosecute you, and we are prosecuting you. I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. We looked into the facts in great depth. That's her picture up on the screen, Hannah Dugan, who is now in custody. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
Well, that's the Democratic Party for you today. Dems 13. Because that's what TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, has done to them. I mean, look what it's done to them. I mean, they've become like rabid dogs. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, the insurrection in the judiciary. Many of these rogue activist, far-left judges, well, now they're finally getting arrested. One took place very dramatically Friday. The FBI went in and arrested a Milwaukee County judge, to be more accurate, Hannah Dugan. She is now facing up to 6 years in prison. Obviously, she's going to be impeached and removed if she is convicted. And now another judge, and I'll get to this judge a little bit later in the show, Judge Cano, was found. He's in New Mexico. Again, a partisan Democrat activist, was arrested with a Tren de Aragua gangbanger in his house. He was harboring, shielding, protecting a Tren de Aragua gangbanger, and he even helped the gangbanger get access to weapons and guns. You can't make this stuff up. So the question now I have for you is was this an illegal arrest? Is Trump now menacing and threatening the independence of the judiciary? This is what the media and the Democrats are now howling, not just claiming, but howling, and saying we're now in a constitutional legal crisis and Trump must be removed from office. Or is he simply sending a message? No one is above the law, including judges. You know where I stand. What say you? Agree? Disagree? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Rob in Dedham. Thanks for holding, Rob, and welcome.
Jeff. Jeff. Listen, these phonies don't believe in anything. Nothing. You see Kevin Hayden nixed that request by that moonbat judge in Massachusetts regarding the ICE guy. So obviously Michelle Wu's feeling the pressure, and so in Moho Healy there. So this is Shelley. You mentioned Shelley Joseph, okay, jumping out the back door down in Newton. Listen, these are I'll call them this, Jeff. These are judicial suicide bombers, okay? Their job is to just sacrifice themselves because they know nothing's going to happen. I'm just wondering, what district is that court in Milwaukee? Probably Chicago, Illinois. So nothing's going to happen to her. She'll spend the time in the jail and she'll write a book and get paid for it. Listen, folks, the job of the police officer is to force the law. The job of the judge is to be the referee. And obviously it's lawfare. It's just nonsense. So, folks, remember, never go to court around here. Always take it to the streets. Public, opinion is much better than anything else, because the only way they'll do something is if you embarrass them. That's it. They're all government workers first, and then whatever they are, disguising their costumes next.
So, Rob, you don't think Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are going to follow through and put the handcuffs on him? You think she's going to get a slap on the wrist, maybe 6 months in jail, write a book, and then do the lecture circuit?
But to teach a course. What are you, nuts? Come on. Remember Jesse? Remember the imposter that Jesse, what's his name, in Chicago? They rammed him through, and then all of a sudden they just moved the goalpost to release him. This is all performative. That's all. It's just a 2-day story, and it's nonsense, folks. This is all lies. The only thing I can give Kevin Hayden some credit on, he did not go after that ICE guy, dropped those things in Boston the other day. So I'll give him credit for that. But that wasn't because ICE guys are doing anything wrong. This is probably a political decision. You have to get some kind of a story out of Hayden.
Interesting. Yeah. Rob, as always, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Okay, I just want to give everybody a heads up. The Kuhner Man, I'm basically becoming now a semi-regular, I guess if I can phrase it like that, on Newsmax, especially on National Report between 10 and noon. So I will be on today again at 11:35 Eastern. So in about, 5 hours from now, I will be on probably debating a moonbat. They usually have me debating a liberal. So if you want to watch the Kuhner Man on TV, I will be on Newsmax today, 11:35. Furthermore, a molto importante column. I have a fresh column out on the state audit and how they are deliberately defying the will of the voters. 72% of us in Massachusetts voted for a Massachusetts version of Doge to expose all of the corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse. And the leadership, the Dem leadership from Healy to the House and Senate leadership up on Beacon Hill are literally refusing to comply with the law and with the results of the ballot and the election. It's disgusting. So I lay out everything what's at stake in this brand new column, and we're going to be doing a massive rally Saturday, May 17th, 10 a.m., at the steps of the State House in front of Boston Common. We are now going to drive this story all the way. So please go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER. There is my column, The Elites versus the People. And read it, pass it on to as many of your friends, family members, colleagues as possible. We've got to get the word out, my friends. Okay, 617-266-6868. Just a super quick observation, and I want to go back to the phone lines. Notice now how the authority and the prestige of judges has really declined over the last several decades. People do not look at judges the way they used to, with the same respect, with the same deference, with the same reverence. In fact, quite the opposite now. Judges are viewed very much like politicians, like these sleazy journalists in the mainstream, so-called mainstream media, in the corporate media. People have a lot of contempt, and it's not that they have contempt for the rule of law. Quite the contrary. It's they have contempt for the rule of judges and lawyers. And those are two very different things. And when you see how corrupt many of these judges are, and how they disobey the law themselves, and break the law themselves, routinely, consistently, persistently. You know, for a long time, activists went after the police, saying the police kept breaking the law. They thought they were above the law. Well, now people are looking at judges and saying they think they're above the law. They're not. And Judge Dugan is now learning this lesson the hard way. Agree, disagree. Tim in South Dennis. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure, Tim.
Yeah, I think this whole story kind of goes back to some bigger questions that, especially, of course, the nitwit Democrats have never answered for us. You know, one is like, to all of us who work hard and pay taxes, what's the benefit to bringing all these illegal aliens into the country to live off our system while we struggle and pay for them? It's like, what do we get out of that? No one on the left has ever explained it. One of the other things is they always say he's Hitler. Look what Hitler did. And I mean, yeah, Hitler was a piece of crap. Don't get me wrong, but they never compare him to people like Joseph Stalin, who was in office a lot longer, did a whole lot worse. Mao Zedong. You know, 50 years ago Wednesday, we're going to where we pulled out of Southeast Asia, right when the North Vietnamese were.
Tim, can you do me a favor? I'm up against a hard break. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Tim in South Dennis. Tim, you are on a roll, my friend. As you put it, yes, Hitler was an evil monster, no question. But why is that always the default for the left? Why not Stalin? I mean, if you're looking at body count, if you're going to be sick about it, you know, I mean, after a while, when you're talking tens of millions of people, you know, I mean, who's worse? But technically, Stalin did kill more than Hitler. Mao killed more than both of them. So how come the left never says Trump's becoming Mao or Trump's becoming Stalin? Please pick up where you left off, Tim.
Yeah, I was going to, the point I was making when we went to break, like as the North Vietnamese were rolling into Saigon 50 years ago, who took over Cambodia? Pol Pot, who was another thug. They ended up with the killing fields. You know, they found millions of them just shot and then dumped in the mass graves. I mean, it's everywhere. North Korea. You know, try going into that country illegally. You'd probably never be seen again. You know, they always go back to Hitler. And yeah, but I believe that, you know, Mao Zedong, between him, Stalin, all the rest, what has there been, like 100 million dead? Since, you know, the communist ideology spread all over the world. And it's like, again, well, the benefit to us having these criminal illegals here that we're paying for it while our own veterans, our own people are out on the street. You know, people like Mao Se-woo in Boston and, you know, the rest of the Democrats who are always, no one's above the law except them, of course. It's like, what do we get out of this? It's like,
well, you know, Tim, you really put your finger right on it. I got to tell you, Tim, you absolutely nailed it. Look, let's just stick to Judge Dugan, okay? Judge Hannah Dugan. So think about it, as Tim would put it, what are we getting out of it as Americans? Here's an illegal alien. This is a fact. These are all facts. Who has been deported from our country multiple times. Okay, from Mexico. He's got a rap sheet. He's a criminal. As long as my arm. He now comes back in again illegally, which is a felony. He now is beating his girlfriend to a pulp. I guess he found her with another man or went into a jealous rage, whatever it is. He then beats this guy up. He apparently smashes the guy in the face 30 times. He strangled and suffocated his girlfriend. He almost killed her. He almost choked her to death. She's lucky to be alive. They're both in that courtroom begging for justice. So you have not just an animal, but a criminal, illegal, alien animal who has been torturing and brutalizing Americans for decades, who is wanted now on a felony warrant, because by coming back in a second time and a third time, that's a felony now. So ICE now has to grab him. By law, ICE is compelled to grab him. And thank the Lord they are. Now, what does she do? Instead of saying, well, this guy's got what's coming to him, because they're going to send him back to a jail, and this time he's going to go to Mexico. And in Mexico, the jails there are not what they are here. That's what any sane person would do. Instead, she so loses control of herself. Again, according to dozens of witnesses. Okay, and you're going to see they're going to release the camera. And the camera, from what I'm reading, is going to be very damning. She starts to physically shake. That's how angry she is. Because someone told her ICE is waiting in the hallway once they're done with this case. And remember, they're supposed to go through the public exit door. So that's where ICE was waiting for the guy. Right by the exit door. He comes out, they grab him, slap the handcuffs. There's no problem. There's no issue. She gets so upset. She runs. She leaps off the bench like a bat out of hell. Runs to the hallway. And starts yelling, screaming. The whole courthouse could hear her. She is apoplectic. Who are you? What are you doing in my courthouse? How dare you? I mean, I'm telling you, I'm giving it, that's her. And they're like, they're very calm, very professional as they're being yelled at in their face. They identify who they are. They said, we have an administrative warrant. We got him. He came here illegally multiple times. He's wanted on many crimes. We're going to deport him. We have a warrant now to detain and deport this guy. Show me the warrant! They show her the warrant. Apparently, for whatever reason, she wanted to see it a second time. They showed it to her a second time. So now she knows they're going to get him. There's nothing she can do. The moment this case is over, that this guy, Flores Ruiz, and his lawyer are going to walk right through that public door, that exit door. And ICE is waiting with an FBI agent and a DEA agent. So they got him. So, to help him escape, on the spot, it's just how cunning this woman is. She then says, okay, fine, you're going to get him. You're going to get him, but you need to talk to all of you, not just the ICE agents, you FBI, you DIA. In other words, nobody can be here in the hallway, okay? You see that chief judge? He's just got to look at it. He's got to sign off on a few things. They're like, what? Yeah, it's a little different here, which it's not. She's lying. Go to the end and talk to the chief judge. So now she's deliberately distracted the agents. She then runs back into the courtroom, drops the gavel. Case is now over. I'm suspending the case for the day. The victims are like, what? What's going on? She then grabs the defendant, grabs the lawyer, and then smuggles them through a private back door that is only there for judges and staff members and jury members. That's it. and she smuggles them through the private back door, opens the door, and vamos, go, just go. And they start running, both he and his scumbag attorney. The attorney should have said, no, you're breaking the law now. No, the attorney's running with him. So they're both now on foot, and they're running. Now, luckily, ICE suspected that they were going to do something like this. So they had placed a couple of agents in the back. And they engaged in foot pursuit. I'm serious, like in the movies. And they're yelling, ICE, you're under arrest, stop, you're under arrest. Now, thank the Lord, they eventually chased him and the lawyer down. What if that guy had a gun? What if he had a knife? What if he, grabbed a pipe or a stick on a rock or whatever, and killed an ICE agent? What if bystanders were killed? That's Kash Patel made that point, I thought, very well over the weekend, saying, do you know how many people's lives she put in jeopardy? Now, luckily, no one was hurt, by the grace of God. People who work in the courtroom, who were parking in the back, they could have been hurt. Officers could have been hurt. He could have been hurt. Innocent bystanders could have been hurt. Somebody could have easily been killed. Now, what would make a person, think of this, a judge, no less, and she knows the law. She knows she's breaking the law. She knows she's harboring and concealing an illegal. She's obstructing an official proceeding. She's aiding and abetting criminal behavior. I mean, she knows she's guilty on every single front. Why would a judge do that? Risk her career, risk her place on the bench, risk her freedom for whatever it is, 5-6 years in jail, have a criminal record to help. Again, I'm not talking about, some poor single mother with a child who doesn't want to go back to Venezuela or what, you say, I feel bad for this person. She has a job, she has a child, she's trying to make a better life for herself and her child in America. It's going to be really bad for her if we send her back. I mean, don't get me wrong, you deport everybody, but okay, you can understand. Well, okay, I can understand the reasoning behind that. You're talking about a criminal, a career criminal, a gangbanger who likes to beat the crap out of his women, his girlfriends, and it apparently has multiple times put them in the hospital. This is the scumbag? This is, as they say, the hill you're willing to die on? There is something seriously wrong with these people. Tim, I can't explain it. Really, liberalism is it's true. It's a mental disorder. There's something wrong. And I'm going to get to this a little bit later. You would think this would send a chilling message. No. I'm going to read the story later. Trust me. You now have other judges just in Wisconsin who now say, I stand with Hannah Dugan. And in fact, they're saying, arrest me. I want to go to jail with her. And I will let criminal illegal aliens, I will help them escape through the back to avoid being arrested by ICE. 2 other judges now have come out and said, in fact, they've even said, I want to be arrested, arrest me over this. So what I'm saying is, you're seeing now an insurrection. There's no other way to put it. A legal insurrection where left-wing activist judges are saying, take away my robe, take away my career, put me in handcuffs, put me behind bars. But by God, you are not going to detain and deport these criminal illegal aliens. These illegals, we are going to smuggle them out of court if we have to, and harbor and conceal them and aid and abet their escape. Because, murderers, rapists, gangbangers, wife beaters, drug traffickers, those are our people. You cannot make this up. Tim, final word to you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeff. It's a disease, this leftist liberalism. I really don't know. I'd say, if they want to be arrested, well, I was in the car business for 34 years. I said, give the customer what they want, as long as it leads to them being disbarred, too, so they can't ever be in the legal profession again. I don't really know what else to say. I can't really explain it other than, it's a mental disorder. So thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Tim, I appreciate it. As always, a very good call. Always a good call. 617-266-6868. No, to me, the silver lining in all this, and it's a big silver lining, is, okay, then keep arresting them. If they insist on breaking the law, and they're proud of it, they're bragging about it, keep arresting them. So we clean up the judiciary of all of these rogue, far-left, wacko judges. And then replace them with people who have decent common sense grounded in the Constitution and the law. So, okay, we'll just purge the judiciary. Okay, you want to be arrested? No problem. That's no problem. Okay, you want to be impeached and removed? That's no problem. You want to be thrown off the bench as well? No problem. But just, look, think about it. This is either madness, suicide, political suicide. The American public look at this and say, you helped who smuggle out of the courtroom? After showing a warrant? And what this guy's been alleged to have done and what he's been convicted of doing in the past? You violated your oath? You committed crimes? You broke the law for this? So either you're seeing now complete madness descend upon the Democratic Party, which means they're going to be destroyed. When that's suicide. They're going to kill themselves politically. Or they are so determined to wage a legal insurrection against Trump that they're now willing to burn the whole country to the ground, including, by the way, any respect that's left for the judiciary. I don't know about you, but I have less respect now for judges than I ever have in my entire life. And it's getting to the point, if they continue, and that's why I'm telling Roberts is making the biggest mistake of his career. He needs to step up now. In fact, he should have done it a long time ago. If this continues, and they keep making arrests because these judges are that out of control, then the judiciary is going to be viewed exactly the way the media is and politicians and Congress. Puh. Puh. People are going to have no respect for them whatsoever. And you take away respect from the judiciary, they're finished. They're finished. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Linda in Medford. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Well, I think I've solved quite a bit of the problem. This weekend, I came across the 1996 Immigration Reform Act instituted by Bill Clinton. It's long, it's very detailed, and he actually does say in it that they do not have a legal right to an attorney. If they want to hire one, they can, but they do not have a right to a court-appointed attorney. It goes on several paragraphs. It also states in it very clearly that if they are picked up committing a felony, they are deportable. So we're spending this money arresting them and keeping them in jail, and it's a law that passed that they can just be taken down and tossed out of the country. I think people need to get their Wikipedia out and read it.
Well, you're right, Linda. You're completely right. But even more than that, you're right. And let me just piggyback off of what you're saying. The Constitution, and this is crystal clear, does not apply to foreigners who came into our country illegally. Period. Full stop. This is a myth that the left is pushing. They've just made this up. They literally have made this up. The media's made it up. The Democrats have made it up. For some reason, rhinos are buying it. They shouldn't buy it. This is a complete lie and a complete myth. A foreigner who breaks into our country, comes here illegally, the Constitution does not apply to them. Neither does due process. Now, yes, if you come on a travel visa, a tourist visa, a work visa, you're here on a green card, you're a legal resident, of course you have constitutional protections. But in no country in the world, it's not just the United States, literally no country on the face of the planet, if you come into that country illegally, you are not bestowed with the constitutional protections of that country. It's insane. Of course not. Now, furthermore, deportation, as I said on X last night, is not a punishment. For some reason, the way the left acts, like, oh, you're punishing these people by deporting them. No, federal immigration law, it's passed by Congress, says you come in illegally, you automatically must be deported. Period. There's nothing to discuss. That's what I just find incredible. He has a right to a lawyer. He doesn't have a right to a lawyer. Due process. No, he doesn't have a right to due process. You come in illegally, the automatic response is a deportation to go back to your country of origin. So, foreign terrorists and criminal illegal aliens must be automatically deported. Period. Period. And what they do is they cite cases, they use the Scalia case in particular in the 80s, and they say, well, it's not true. He said, immigrants have the right to due process. Yes, legal immigrants, of course. Stupid. Yes. So, of course, when I came here on a student visa, when I went to attend Ohio University, yes, I'm here legally. I'm respecting the process of this country. They did a criminal background check, a drug test. I'm fine. Yes. Okay. I have certain rights. When I came here on a work visa, you get even more rights. When I became a green card holder, a permanent resident, even more rights. And of course, then I became naturalized. But if you just break into the country illegally, you get caught. Bye. Bye. And just so that everybody knows, that's what they did under Obama. That's what they did under George Bush. That's what they did under Bill Clinton. That's what they did under Trump in his first term. That's what they did under Reagan. That's what they did under Carter. That's how we've always done it. And the millions and millions that were deported under Clinton and under Bush and under Obama were non-judicial deportations, i.e., they didn't get a lawyer. There was no so-called due process. They weren't adjudicated in a court of law. You're caught, they send you out. They'll give a judge a review and say, look, we've caught all these illegals. Here are their names. We're sending them back. Bang. Okay, thanks. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now. This is a Wisconsin state rep, Ryan Clancy, on MSDNC regarding the arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan. And listen now, this is the line. It's not just one or two. This is not just even the Wisconsin Democrats. Tammy Baldwin, Wisconsin Senator, Bernie Sanders, AOC, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi. All of this is CNN. MSNBC, New York Times, Boston Globe, Washington Post. They are falling all over themselves, decrying what they say now is the opening shot in Trump's National Socialist Nazi takeover of the country. I swear to you. Listen now to this assemblyman saying, I back Dugan. She did exactly the right thing. And it's Trump who is now turning this country into a dictatorship. Roll cut 7. Mike.
So Judge Dugan was in her right in doing what she did. She didn't obstruct justice. She obstructed fascism in this case. Because you're saying obstructing justice would be if this had been a court order signed by a judge, which it was not. So, as you know, yeah. Right. Even in that case, it does not make sense. We should not have ICE agents in a protected space like a courtroom any more than you'd want ICE agents going into an operating room or a classroom. Those have historically been protected spaces that are off limits to ICE, and with good reason. You want people feeling safe and secure in a courthouse, either to come to their own trials or to testify against others, and this is really just an attack on the judicial system.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Really. It's chilling. What they're saying is chilling. This is now legal anarchy. This is lawlessness. That's what they're now pushing. So think about what they're saying. First of all, why should a courtroom be somehow a safe space from ICE? I don't understand. Why should a classroom be a safe space from ICE? If you've got gangbangers at a school, and by the way, it's in many schools, and they're torturing students, murdering, raping students, dealing drugs, trafficking in guns, and ICE shouldn't go in there and grab them? Like, are you serious? Like, really, dude, are you normal? Does the elevator go to the top? Now, as for the courtroom, they were not actually in the courtroom. They were in the public hallway, which is open to the public, and they were waiting for them to leave the public exit. She was the one who jumped off the bench and was instructed by them twice, not once, twice. Here's the warrant for this person's arrest. We've got him dead to rights. By the way, she's just been listening to testimony all morning. How this guy beat the hell out of his girlfriend and beat the hell out of this other guy and literally nearly strangled and suffocated her to death. And that, by the way, he's done this repeatedly. This is not the first woman that he's done this to. Okay? And then she runs and she harbors and conceals him and smuggles him out through a private back door. And if you listen to this idiot, well, she was obstructing Trump's fascism. She's a hero of the resistance. So ICE equals the SS? Deporting illegal aliens? Think about what they're saying. To deport criminal illegal aliens is to participate in the Fourth Reich. They are destroying the rule of law. They are destroying any respect for the federal government, for our borders, for our sovereignty, for the American people. I mean, really, this guy's nuts. But I wish it was only one. Here it is. Don't take my word for it. Chuck U. Schumer now ran on MSNBC on behalf of the Democratic Party. This is now the official position of the Democratic Party and all of their mouthpieces and allies, their liars, their fellow liars in the media. This arrest of Dugan has now triggered a constitutional crisis. Our Weimar moment, Weimar Germany, has now arrived. Hitler is rising. Roll cut 9. Mike.
Immigration advocates have been warning we are on the verge of a constitutional crisis. Has that crisis arrived, Senator?
Yes, it has, unfortunately, because Trump wants to be king. A king doesn't have a constitution. A king just does whatever he wants, and Biondi just goes along with them. They're trying to intimidate judges. This is not the first time or the second. They've said they want to impeach judges. They said they're going to go after judges who don't agree with them. That is so against the Constitution. The Constitution believes, and has been written with the wisdom of the Founding Fathers, that we should have separation of powers. There should be an independent judiciary. When you go before a judge, you think that you hope and believe that that judge is impartial. What Trump, Biondi, and the whole Justice Department are trying to do is push that judge, threaten that judge, so the judge is no longer impartial. It is outrageous in both cases. In both cases, you can't believe what they said.
Unbelievable. First of all, the judge is not impartial. This has been a lifelong Democrat. Judge Dugan, look up her record. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars she's donated to Democrat causes. She's a Democrat hack who, by the way, is a radical on open borders and illegal immigration. She was the executive director of Catholic Charities for southeastern Wisconsin. They basically traffic in women and children. That's what she does. So this is not an impartial judge. Well, what are we talking about? And if she really believed in the rule of law and in the justice system, ICE has a warrant. Let ICE arrest and detain this illegal alien wife beater and let the process play out. She didn't do that. She broke the law, multiple laws, to smuggle him out the back door. So is the position now of the Democratic Party that judges who break the law and openly defy ICE and federal immigration law, that they're now what, above the law? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, as I was trying to say before I ended the last segment, but then, of course, Mike and Sandy, they're basically, button Nazis. They love that button. They look at that brake, and God forbid we should give the Kuhner man 1/10 of 1 second. Nope, they go 000, bang. And it's like a race. Who can bang the button faster? So anyway, it's judicial tyranny. That's really what the Democrats are now telling us, that these judges are above the law, that they can just do anything they want, and that there's nothing we can do about it, that we have to bend the knee to any Democrat hack, and this Dugan is a clear Democrat hack. Again, no legal training, no basis in the Constitution or in the law. This is an open borders, pro-illegal immigration hack who they put on this judge, this circuit county bench, and now thinks that it's her job, literally, to help criminal, illegal, alien, domestic abusers escape being detained by ICE. Like, you can't make this up. So the only thing she didn't do was run with him. She got through the back door, private door. Okay, you and the lawyer, go, vamos, go. The only thing she didn't do was just throw her robe off and just run with him. A la Thelma and Louise. I mean, seriously. And you call yourself a judge? And you want us to respect you? Ay, ay, ay. 617-266-6868. Okay. So, Schumer now leading the Democratic Party, but they're all repeating the same. It's Adam Schiff. It's AOC. It's Hakeem Jeffries. It's Tammy Baldwin. It's Bernie Sanders. It's Elizabeth Warren. It's just across the board. They got the memo. They got their talking points. The arrest of Dugan has now triggered a constitutional crisis. The moment now has arrived. This is it. Okay? On the 98th or 97th day of Trump's presidency, this is Weimar. This is the moment. So, listen now to Chuck. Chuck Yu now says, we've got to impeach. We've got to impeach. So from now until next November, all we're going to say over and over again is impeach, impeach, impeach. They're going to run on impeachment for the next year and a half. Roll cut 10, Mike.
Your colleague from Georgia, Senator John Ossoff, told voters at a town hall that he strongly agrees that President Trump should be impeached. Do you agree with him? Would that be a priority if Democrats were to take back Congress?
Well, look, right now, President Trump is violating rule of law in every way. And we're fighting him every single day in every way. And our goal is to show the American people over and over again, whether it's the economy, whether it's tariffs, whether it's Russia and overseas, and whether it's rule of law, how bad he is. And, it's 2 years is too far away to predict. Our job is day to day to day to show who Trump is, what he is doing, and it's having an effect, as your polls show. The American people are realizing.
You're not saying no.
Look, it's too far away to even judge.
Yes. Okay? Trust me, that's a yes. That's a yes. So that's just Chuck you, Schumer. He likes to keep his cards closer to his vest. They're going to impeach him now as certainly as the sun rises. So what does Trump do? If I'm Trump, don't stop. They're coming after you now no matter what. They're coming after you now no matter what. So within less than 100 days, they're running on impeachment. The Democrats are screaming for impeachment. They're going to impeach you if they win the midterm elections. So at this point, to me, it's pedal to the metal. Don't hold back. Take the gloves off, because we are now in uncharted territory. As I said on X last night, this is now a political war. A political war. Agree, disagree. Should Pam Bondi, Trump's DOJ, his FBI, Kash Patel, have arrested Judge Hannah Dugan? The left says this is the beginning of Hitlerism and fascism, a constitutional crisis. I say no one is above the law, especially crooked, law-breaking criminal judges. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Mark in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Yeah, buddy. Happy sunny Monday.
Happy Monday to you as well, my friend.
Woo. Hey, let's not even talk about the whole federal laws in this. Wisconsin statute, Jeff, and I had to look this up, 946.47, it is illegal under Wisconsin state law to assist a felon, to conceal them and prevent them from being arrested. She showed intent, she ignored the warrant, and she willingly took the guy to help him evade arrest. She's guilty at the state level, Jeff. And that state level, forget the federal law, Jeff. State level, you're punishable by up to 10 years in state prison and a $25,000 fine. It's way stiffer at the state level. So all these representatives and all these twits going on TV saying, she did nothing wrong. She violated her own state statutes, Jeff. And if I were Trump, and if I were Pam Bondi, and if I were Pullman, I would get a copy of that warrant, and I would put that out there and say, here's the warrant. This is what she was given. This is what she ignored. Screw her. She's going to jail.
Mark, do you think Dugan will end up going to jail?
No. She'll probably get a slap on the wrist. She'll probably get a censure and a fine. The state will never remove her from the bench. And being that she's a state judge, I'm not sure that the federal government can push her out. In reality, the state should have filed charges against her because, like I said, she violated their own laws. And she should be disbarred, removed from the bench, and she should face jail time. But I honestly, Jeff, I don't think she's going to go to jail. She'll accept the plea like, I'll retire and with full pension and just ride off into the sunset and write a book about fascism.
Mark, apparently the governor, the very left-wing governor, Democrat obviously, of Wisconsin, Tony Evers, has now issued what he calls guidance from the governor to every state employee, and that includes the judges, that they are not to cooperate with ICE and with the deportation of any illegal alien in the entire state of Wisconsin. So basically, he's going as far as he can, wink, wink, to tell these judges, I want more Hannah Dugans. I call her Judge Dingbat, but let that go, okay? So I want more Judge Dingbat Dugan. I want more of you harboring them, concealing them, aiding and abetting them to escape being captured and detained by ICE. So do we now have not just a lawless judiciary, do we now have a lawless governor?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Jeff. You don't have to cooperate. You don't have to help them put people, get people arrested, but you can't prevent it. There's a fine line there. You can say, I'm not going to help you. And that's fine. If you don't want to do that, I guess that's technically not a crime. But if you're going to get in the way of it, if you're going to prevent ICE from apprehending people, that is a crime, both state and federal. And anyone that does that should be subject to arrest. But the problem is, it'll be in the...
It's in the state, in the state system. No, you're right. And look, the governor has basically said, I'm going to take care of my people. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quickly, a reminder for everybody. The Kuhner Man will be on Newsmax today. It's becoming almost semi-regular. National Report. I will be on. It's a very good show between 10 and noon on Newsmax. I will be on today at 11:35 Eastern Time. Usually I debate a liberal. I was on recently and I destroyed this woman, but I don't know if it will be just a straight interview or a spirited debate, but whatever it is, trust me, you want to listen, you want to tune in. So if you want to catch the Kuhner Man today, 11:35 Eastern on Newsmax. Also, Kuhner Man has a very important column out. You can get it, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner. It's called The Elites versus the People, and it is about the need to finally have a state audit, an independent audit of the legislature, the budget, and the spending programs here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Basically, the need for our own version of Doge. 72% of voters, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, voted for the ballot one question, audit the legislature. And yet, incredibly, even though there is this clear popular voter mandate, Healy, Ron Mariano, that corrupt Speaker of the House, Karen Spilka, the moonbat President of the Senate, they are refusing to comply with the will of the voters. They do not want to open up the books. Why? Because we're going to find billions and billions of dollars in unbelievable corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse, and they know it. So the Kuhner Man, and it's in the column, is laying out the reason for why we need an audit, why the Democrats are desperately afraid and trying to cover it up, and why we're going to be holding a very important rally on Saturday, May 17th, 10 a.m. It's going to be about an hour 15 minutes at the steps of the State House in front of Boston Commons. We are not taking no for an answer. We want that audit, and we want it now. So please read the column. I hope all of you attend my rally. It's going to be one of the most important I've ever held. And pass my column around. We need as many people to show up. It's time for some people power. 617-266-6868 6868. And in many ways, that's the theme of today's show. The elites, in this case, the out-of-control, arrogant judicial elites. The lawless judicial elites versus the people. Now, it's not just Judge Dugan. There was another high-profile Democrat judge. This is a Democrat activist. How they put this guy on the bench is beyond me. His name is Judge Eric Cano. C-A-N-O. Now, this is such an unbelievable story. You're not going to believe it. Okay, so I'm going to play some cuts because you're going to say, Jeff. No way is this true. I mean, nobody that corrupt, frankly, that stupid, that dirty, that compromised can be a judge. Well, this is 2025. And this is what the Democrats put on the bench. So, Judge Cano and his wife together have now been arrested by the FBI. Why? Because this New Mexico judge, again, lifelong Democrat activist, they just put him on a bench, was harboring and concealing a Nicaragua gangbanger in his house. He had a Nicaragua killer, a terrorist, living in his home. And not only was he having this guy live in his home, he was allowing him to do all kinds of gang business and gang activities out of his home. Including, by the way, trafficking weapons, allowing him. He had guns. He had rifles. You wouldn't believe the firepower that this guy had, this Nicaragua thug had in this judge's home. They found on this Nicaragua gangbanger's phone, the one that was living in the judge's home, not one, but two pictures of decapitated bodies. He was part of a death squad, engaged in child and women and sex trafficking. And when they had their way with them, or they served their purpose, they kill them and chop their heads off. That's the kind of scumbag, the kind of piece of you-know-what, POS, that this judge was shielding, harboring, and protecting in his own home. And the Democrats are defending him, saying that Trump and the DOJ and the FBI are wrong to have arrested the judge, that you don't arrest judges, that judges are quote-unquote independent, and that Trump is now attacking and undermining the independence of the judiciary. Again, on cue, this is Hitler, fascism, the Fourth Reich. Listen now to Pam Bondi saying, yeah, we arrested another judge, and the Moonbats are very upset about this one too. An illegal alien from Venezuela, Nicaragua member, he was living at their home. Roll cut 3, Mike.
Alleged TDA member had been picked up by law enforcement, and now he and his wife were picked up and arrested. And you say that you believe, as the Attorney General, that the person that they were having living at their home was a truly potentially bad individual.
Yeah, that's the judge up on the screen now who got arrested. Yeah, his name is Ortega. He was is a known TDA member. So he comes through Eagle Pass December 2023. He's living in our country. January 2025, ICE, they get a tip. Tom Homan's done a great job. Our FBI did a great job on this case too. They get a tip that he is living with a judge and the judge's wife. So they have him arrested first on immigration charges. A Judge Damian Martinez releases him, saying that Judge Cano has a good BS meter and wouldn't let just anyone live on his property.
So one judge, one sleazy judge, Democrat judge, covers up for the other sleazy Democrat judge, saying, well, hey, he's got a good BS meter. This guy's not Tren de Aragua. He's a misunderstood youth. He's a poor young guy who just wants a shot at the American dream. He's here to do the jobs Americans don't want to do. He's here to pick strawberries, for God's sake. That's all. No, he's got a good BS meter. Never would allow a gangbanger to live in his house. Okay. Roll cut 3A. Mike.
What charges will Cano and his wife face, if any?
So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano, got his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TDA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TDA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him.
So he's got tattoos, Tren de Aragua tattoos all over him, kill, murder, But hey, just the kind of people we want to let into our country. By the way, I guess he got that from Hillary. I guess Judge Cano said, hey, if it worked for the Hildebeest, why won't it work for me? Smash the phone. Smash it to 1,000 pieces, and then just throw it in a dumpster. Nothing's going to happen to you. Listen now, one more cut. Saying, you want to know when the Judge Cano was destroying those cell phones? You want to know what was on that cell phone? Roll cut 3B. Mike.
He also had on his cell phone pictures of two decapitated victims. Two victims, decapitated, gruesome photos. And he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back saying, hey, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be sending these. You shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, these two, the judge and his wife, gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TDA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
And we're supposed to protect this? We're supposed to turn a blind eye? Judges are supposed to be allowed to do this? Help them with target practice? No, you see, when you blow their head off, hey, Alejandro, relax. No. That's right. You want to shoot them in the temple. That's how you do it. Yeah, the whole head blows up. That's how you do it. Ay. Now, the question that needs to be asked, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. What would drive these judges? Okay, take Eric Cano, the scumbag New Mexico judge, or Judge Dugan in Milwaukee. What would drive them? What's their motive? What would inspire them to literally harbor, conceal, protect, aid, and abet some of the worst scumbags, criminal, illegal aliens on the face of the earth? Listen now to Bondi's response. Roll cut 4, Mike.
Have you dug into their motive? Like, what inspired them to carry out these acts and harbor criminals?
They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe. I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not. And we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you.
Yeah. Look, to me, there's got to be another possibility. I agree. These people, clearly there's something wrong with them. I mean, mentally, there's something clearly. They're sick in the head. I mean, these are mentally ill people. There's no question. I think there's money. Look, I would not be shocked if that New Mexico judge and his wife were taking a lot of cash from Aragua. And I want to know how much money Hannah Dugan has been putting in her pocket helping illegal aliens being trafficked into the United States. And to me, I always say, follow the money. And I think if you follow the money, you're going to see a lot of corrupt judges in our country. And that's going to explain a lot of their rulings. I mean, for God's sake, they now have them living in their homes. They now have them, and I'm not trying to be insulting. Have you seen Dugan? Okay, look, I'm the last guy to be talking about somebody's weight, okay? I mean, let's put it this way. I got a beer belly without the beer. I always say this to people who have a beer belly. Well, hey, at least you're drinking beer. I just look at food and I put on weight, all right? But let that go. So I'm not saying, the Kuhner man doesn't have not one, but 2 or even 3 spare tires on him. So I'm not, I'm the last guy to talk about other people's weight. But have you seen Judge Dugan? Holy mackerel. She hightailed it for this guy. I mean, she got her exercise for the whole year. I'll tell you this. She shot like a bat out of hell into that public hallway. Shot like a bat out of hell to get out of the public hallway, back into the courtroom, and escort the illegal Flores Ruiz, the wife beater, and the lawyer right through the back door. She's practically sprinting like she's running for the Olympics. So you're running through the courtroom. And by the way, the victims, you need to know this, the victims of Flores Ruiz, the ones he was suffocating and strangulating, they were in the courtroom, were shocked and horrified. In fact, they were gasping at how this judge was yelling, screaming, infuriated, and then took them and led them out the back door. In other words, she's so clearly biased in favor of this man who put my head through a wall and tried to suffocate me to death. And this is a judge? Follow the money. Follow the money. She's on the take. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Now, last clip, and then I'm going to go right back to the phone lines. They ask her the obvious question. You know what the Democrats are going to say before they even say it. Trump is abusing his power. He's becoming a dictator. He's becoming a king. You can't be arresting judges. This is the end of our democracy. This is the beginning of Hitler. Listen to Pam Bondi's response. Roll cut 5, Mike.
If I could just finish off with this idea, very significant development that you're arresting judges now. Now, it could be that the judges have engaged in terribly bad behavior and deserve to be arrested. But you know what critics will say? They'll say, "Oh, this is a government that is expanding the powers of the Article 1 of the Constitution. Now they're arresting judges." How do you respond to that?
No one is above the law, John. No one is above the law in this country. And if you are destroying evidence, if you are obstructing justice, when you have victims sitting in a courtroom of domestic violence and you're escorting a criminal defendant out a back door, it will not be tolerated, and it is a crime in the United States of America. Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be prosecuted.
Agree, disagree. Was Trump and his DOJ and the FBI, were they right to arrest these two judges? Dugan in particular, because that's the one the Democrats are putting everything they have on. They are going to defend Dugan now to the hilt. So, did Trump do, or did Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, did the DOJ and the FBI do the right thing? Or are we now seeing a fundamental assault on the judiciary, as the left claims? Is this now a constitutional crisis? 617-266-6868. You know where I stand. If you're a corrupt judge, lock 'em up. Lock 'em up. No one is above the law. I don't care if you wear a robe or don't wear a robe. Whether you're a politician, I don't care who you are. You commit a crime, you engage in obstruction, you aid and abet felons and illegals and criminals, throw the book at them. But that's me. I want to hear from you. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. So, let me get this straight. Chuck Schumer, okay, is going to defend a judge that clearly broke multiple state and federal laws, but he's the same man that stood on the Supreme Court steps with a microphone and a speaker and publicly threatened Supreme Court justices. This guy has balls bigger than my head.
Mark, do you think they are going to throw the book at Dugan and that judge in New Mexico? In other words, is there going to be a price to pay for what they've done?
Well, if they abide by what they've been telling us, Jeff, for the last 8 years, nobody is above the law, not a judge, not a president, not a politician, nobody, then yes, she needs to go to jail, and I'm pretty sure there's a women's prison out there, Jeff, that will welcome her with some open arms. I'll tell you that right now.
Mark, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mary Ann on Messenger made a very good point. She said, Jeff, I would love to see how this Judge Dugan, treated American citizens. In her view, lesser citizens. Because it's obvious now to Democrats and the left, regular American citizens are less than illegals. We're much lower than illegals. I mean, they're the dreamers, we're not. They have all kinds of rights that we don't have. So the question now is, how did she treat regular Americans? And especially Americans who were kidnapped, Americans who were smuggled, Americans who were the victims of domestic violence and domestic abuse. I'm just curious. And I will bet you the best steak at the steakhouse of your choice that she's infinitely more lenient on illegals than she is on Americans. Please, don't take the bet. I'm telling you, please don't, because you're going to lose. And I don't want you to lose because I like a good steak. So, that meal is going to cost you quite a bit. Okay, just very quickly, 2 quick points, and I promise I want to go right back to the phone lines. If you notice, they're all sounding the same again. It's the same phrases, the same words, the same lines, the same script. Whether it's Chuck Schumer, it's John Ossoff, who's running for re-election in Georgia, in the U.S. Senate. So they got him going, but it doesn't matter. It's AOC, just the whole talkies over the weekend. Bernie, Tammy Baldwin, right across the board. Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, and of course, CNN, MSNBC, and the entire fake news corporate media. And so, this is, from, 603. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470. 70470. Jeff, Does the DNC send out talking points to all of their sycophants? Is that where this comes from? Now the term is, and it's true, this is the term now they use, is quote unquote major escalation. That this arrest of Dugan and of Eric Cano, the two corrupt judges, that this is now a quote unquote major escalation. By the way, constitutional crisis is the other phrase. Both. And as the person points out, this is the propaganda that the Smith-Munt Act would stop had Obama not repealed it. But it's the same script. I mean, it's unbelievable how it's the same script. NPR, PBS, all of the news, whether it be CBS, ABC, NBC, it's unbelievable. So it's obvious the DNC is feeding them the exact lines they're supposed to mouth and parrot. Okay, Newsmax, as well as One America's OAN, forgive me, One America News, both of them are now reporting that immigration judges, like the ones that have been arrested, especially the one in New Mexico, Judge Cano, have now, it's clear, they have been directly tied to the cartels, the Mexican cartels, to Tren de Aragua and MS-13, and that, quote-unquote, foreign entities are paying these judges. Remember I said, this was like 5 minutes ago, I said follow the money. Well, almost on cue. Now you've got media outlets reporting there's money flowing into the bank accounts and into the pockets of many of these corrupt judges, and apparently now there's going to be many more. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And so maybe the fact that all these judges are getting all hot and bothered and championing the causes of these MS-13 gangbangers who Trump is desperately trying to deport out of our country, maybe it's not just all them wanting to undermine Trump and sabotage his presidency. It's that, of course. But there's a little bit of green involved as well. Little bit of money flowing around. Just as the Italian mob says, just enough to wet my beak. I don't want your whole operation. Just give me a taste. Just give me a little something. Okay, 617-266-6868 is the number. Democrat Senator John Ossoff on a campaign trail yesterday said the quiet part out loud. He said, look, I've spoken to Schumer. I've spoken to the Democrat leadership in both the House and in the Senate. If we win back the majority in the midterms, we guarantee it, we will impeach Trump. For what? We'll make it up. But we're going to impeach Trump. Elect us, we impeach. 617-266-6868. Jeff in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Jeff, and welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. As far as that judge is concerned, I'm glad she got arrested, but it's a drop in the bucket. You see, the foundation is our education system. Where did this judge get educated in? You see, the left-wing educational system is producing these judges. The problem is parents, the normies, have to take their kids out of the public school system and have them schooled privately if possible. And don't send your kids off to college unless it's for education, mathematics, things that are non-political. The problem is, Jeff, your audience already knows this. You have the smartest audience in the business. The problem is the majority of normies who don't listen to your show in the suburbs. They're the ones that are croaking us, you see, because the communists already have Massachusetts in these blue areas because the normies send their kids off to these left-wing public schools and left-wing colleges. They're getting educated by the communists, and it's been that way for decades. That is the problem. If you don't reform the education system, we are done. people don't have time to homeschool their kids. They're working 2 or 3 jobs because the communists have infiltrated our government since the 50s. Joseph McCarthy talked about this. He was vindicated in the Verona Papers. So if you don't reform the education system, this is an exercise in futility. Trump will have 4 years trying to reform the system, shine a turd, and for the most part, we are done as a country except for the red states. What do you think, Jeff?
Look, I agree with you. I think there's no question. And I think the left's assault on our children, their attempt to brainwash and indoctrinate our children, which is where the battle is really being fought, is only intensifying. Rather than slowing down, they're speeding up. And they understand that whoever can capture, as the Jesuits famously said, it's one of my favorite sayings because it's true. The Jesuits said for hundreds and hundreds of years, give us your child until they're 12, and they are ours for life. In other words, if you can mold them in those seminal early years of development, I mean, they're not going to toe the line 100%, but for the most part, you essentially determine how they think, their values, their world outlook, their ideology. You can turn them into the kind of person you want them to be. And that's what the left, to give the devil his due, that's what the left has understood in a way that we conservatives have never understood. And now you're seeing the fruits of this. These aren't judges. Really, these are not. Judge Dugan is not a judge. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you, because this is a fascinating angle that I want to ask all of you, the great callers of Kuhner Country. And obviously the great listeners of Kuhner Country. And really, it's Sandy. Sandy was the one who came up with this. Full credit to her and Mike as well. Should judges be held even to a higher standard? If you notice, what the Democrats incredibly are now arguing is that there's no standard. That they're above the law. That you just simply cannot arrest them, period. It doesn't matter what they do. How outrageous their behavior, how awful or illegal or criminal their conduct is, that if you arrest a judge, then all of a sudden you're a dictator. Okay, this is now the new line of attack. To me, it's always been the exact opposite. Judges, because they wear the robe, because in some ways they exemplify the law, because they've been placed in this sacred trust of being behind the bench and adjudicating what is legal and illegal, what is constitutional, unconstitutional, what is right and wrong, to me, have a special obligation, a special burden to be above reproach, that they should have and they should conduct themselves and they should have the highest standards imaginable. And if they do fall, or if they do commit crimes, if they do violate their oath, honestly, I believe they should get even stiffer penalties. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. Not just impeached and removed and, disrobed and they lose their pension or their benefits. No. I think they should get the maximum penalty, whatever the maximum penalty is. Because they, above all, know the law. And they know the consequences of breaking the law. They can't claim ignorance. They can't claim they fully didn't quite understand the consequences of their actions. No, if anyone knows the consequences of what they're doing, it's a judge. And so, let me throw this log on the fire. It's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, du jour, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Should judges get a more severe penalty than non-judges if they happen to break the law? Should judges be given even a harsher or more severe penalty than non-judges if they happen to break or violate the law. A, yes. B, no. You know where I stand. I'm a yes. I'm an A, but that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X. And again, last night I was very active on X. If you can, please follow me. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report. All one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in national ER. I want to read something from Caitlin that she sent me on Messenger, and then I'm going to go right back to the phone lines. And this is, I think she's dead on. I think she's absolutely dead on. Jeff, even if these judges were harboring American criminals, they'd still be arrested, and they should be arrested. A crime is a crime is a crime is a crime. Caitlin, don't get me wrong. I only have eyes for my wife, but I love you in a non-sexual way, my friend. Yes. Yes. Say this wasn't, Judge Dugan, say this wasn't an illegal, okay, for whatever reason. It's not an illegal from Mexico who's been deported multiple times and illegally re-entered our country, which is felony upon felony. Okay, you're standing there. It's a domestic abuser, a lifelong criminal, wife beater who likes to suffocate, strangulate, and beat the living daylights out of his girlfriends and has committed multiple crimes. And the police are waiting, or the FBI or the DEA, maybe for drug trafficking. They're waiting in the hallway to arrest this guy on other charges. And if she did the exact same thing, what she did, just last week, and said, no, where's the warrant? Where's the warrant? Well, here's the warrant. Okay, go to the chief judge. Yeah, down the hall, to the left, and all of you, go. He's got to sign off on this. Go. And then she runs back into the courtroom. All right, really, like rampaging. You can hear like the steps. The whole building is shaking. Okay, she's like the female version of the Incredible Hulk. And there she is. And she grabs the defendant and his sleazy lawyer and says, through the back door, go. Does anybody seriously think this judge should not be arrested? On what planet? Now, there's one more line of attack. Okay? One more line of attack, very quick. There have been several deportations. Now, watch for this. Because the media now, it's Monday morning and they need more material. So, what they're trying to do now is claim that Trump has deported a 2-year-old baby. It's coming now. The propaganda's, get ready for the propaganda. So now they're going to say, it's already starting. He's deporting 2-year-old babies, for God's sake. The man's a monster. I bet he eats them at night. He's a monster. No. He deported, in fact, it wasn't one, it was several illegal aliens. Or to be more exact, it was border czar Tom Homan and ICE, deported several illegal alien mothers. They were here illegally. And they were then given the option. The children, anchor babies, are technically now American citizens. They don't have to go. They can stay. We can put them with other family members, or we can put them in the foster care system and they'll be adopted. The mothers chose to take their babies with them. The mothers chose to take their babies with them. So nobody deported, or Trump did not deport, a 2-year-old baby. That's another lie and another media hoax. This is from 617. Again, you can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. Jeff, you are completely right. No, Trump didn't deport a 2-year-old citizen. He deported her mother, an illegal alien who has full custody of her minor child. And no, Trump is not arresting judges he doesn't agree with. The DOJ is arresting judges who break federal immigration laws and try to help fugitives escape being detained by ICE. It is a deliberate disinformation, misinformation campaign. Okay, text line is on fire today. It is burning up. This is from 512. By the way, you can text us 70470. Jeff, and it's a doozy. Listen to this one. Jeff, the cartels use bribery, blackmail, threats, coercion, kidnapping, and murder as standard operating procedure in Latin America, and it has worked quite effectively. Why wouldn't the same standard operating procedure be in effect here in the United States? I would maintain that it is. Well, we're starting to see it now with these judges. I don't know if they're being intimidated. I don't know if they're being blackmailed. But it's pretty obvious now they're taking money. They're being bribed. They're being bribed to protect them. Tren de Aragua, MS-13, these vicious, violent transnational criminal gangs. And they're being paid to look the other way. 617-266-6868. Okay, this is from 603. And really a very, very ingenious play on words. And completely right. Completely right. Jeff, yes, this is an assault on the judiciary because this judge is a Democrat activist. Yes, this is a constitutional crisis because this judge is a Democrat activist. Yes, Judge Dugan is above the law because this judge is a Democrat activist. Yes, Jeff, the sky is falling because this judge is a Democrat activist. We cannot have this judge made an example of because this judge is a Democrat activist. Bingo. You see, that's their modus operandi, their MO. That's their system. They have politicized and corrupted the judiciary. That's why they're freaking out over these arrests. These aren't judges. They're hacks. They're Democrat activists. And the more the public sees it, the more the public realizes it, the more the public wakes up to it, the Democrats are finished. And that's why they're in a full-blown panic. These activists don't care for the Constitution. They don't care for the rule of law. They don't care about upholding their oath. Yeah, they think they're above the law. They want to be above the law. That's the way the whole scam works. Hey, no, this is a judge. You can't stand up to a judge. You can't defy a judge. You can't challenge a judge. As Schumer said, that's the final word. How dare you? You don't defy a judge. It's almost like they're omnipotent. They're all powerful. We put them in a black robe, and they become mini kings and dictators. No. And that's why for them, the sky is falling. Because you arrest this Democrat activist judge and lay out exactly to the American people what she's doing and what she did, the American people are going to say, we've got a corrupt judiciary. It's now become an extension of the deep state. And we've got to clean it out. We've got to purge it, root and branch. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. John in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call, Jeff.
My pleasure, John.
Have you given any thought? I think this is why the Democrats are willing to die on this hill with the illegals. Have you given any thought as to the similarities between the illegals and the slaves?
I think about that all the time.
They tell us it will destroy our economy if we get them out of here. Who's going to pick our cotton? Who's going to pick our strawberries? You know, there's so many. They were willing. Well, they did assassinate Abraham Lincoln. Both sides. The Democrats really hated Abraham Lincoln. And the Republicans, there was a lot of them that didn't like him because he wouldn't do a lot of the things that they wanted. And I think that's where we find ourselves with Trump. There's rhinos that Trump won't do the things that they want him to do. And the Democrats really hate him. And they've been willing, and over 55% of Democrats that were polled are okay with the idea of Trump being assassinated. There's so many similarities between the two.
Well, and I think this is where you're going with this, John, and it's a scary thought, but I think we have to confront it because I think it's a reality. It's still germinating. It's not fully developed yet. I hope we nip it in the bud, but this is where the Democrats are going. They created a constitutional crisis in the 1850s over the issue of slavery. It was the Democrats. And you're right. They are looking at illegals very similar to the way they looked at slavery, that they're theirs and that you can't touch it and you can't get rid of it. You can't expunge it. You can't kill it. You can't abolish it. They are willing to die on this hill. And it led to a civil war. They were willing to pick up a gun in order to defend slavery. That's what you're seeing now. And just like in the 1850s, you kept seeing this massive resistance and build up. And they destroyed every institution. Eventually, it led to an actual war. Now, I hope it doesn't happen. I pray it doesn't happen. I don't want it to happen. But the fact of the matter is, look at them. They are willing to destroy, burn the country down, destroy every institution, including the judicial branch, including the Supreme Court. They'll destroy everything. But these illegals must not go. They must not go. So they can bring them in illegally. They can flood the country with them illegally. There was no due process given to us, the American citizen and the American people, when Joe Biden flooded the country with MS-13, criminals, Tren de Aragua, terrorists, drug traffickers, you name it, okay? Murderers, literally, murderers and rapists. No, that's okay. But suddenly now, they're giving them all kinds of rights that have never been given to them in our nation's history, and no other country in the world gives them? They are willing to tear this country apart. And, you know, this is not original. I said it on my X account last night, but it's been floating around social media. It's anonymous. I don't know who wrote it initially, but it's brilliant. Notice, not a single Democrat went to Gaza to protest or speak with American hostages being held there. Not one, literally, not one. But when it comes to an MS-13 gangbanger, this guy Abrego Garcia, a human trafficker, an illegal alien, a wife beater, for God's sake, it's like a pilgrimage to this guy. It's not just Van Hollen. It's Democrat after Democrat after Democrat after Democrat. I have never seen Democrats defend Americans held hostage, not just in Gaza, anywhere in the world, the way they're fighting and clinging and fighting tooth and nail for these gangbangers being held now in El Salvador. Now that tells you everything you need to know. This is their power. These are their people. These are their voters, and they're not going to get rid of them. They are willing to burn this country to the ground if need be, but they are not going to have them deported. So either we have a country or we don't. Either we have laws that we abide by or we don't. Either we have borders or we don't. And what they're telling us, John, is we don't. And that's, I don't see that. You can't square that circle. And that's why I'm urging Kuhner country, and I'm urging the president and his team, because I know they listen to this show, you've got to take the gloves off. The old rules don't apply because the Democrats are not playing by the old rules. So the old rules are out the window. This is now, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, this is a political, ideological, cultural war. It's a political war. Now, whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. The Democrats are waging it. The only question now is, are we going to fight back? Because if we don't, we're going to lose. If we do, we're going to win. But you have to fight. And to fight effectively, take the gloves off. And that's why I think now Trump needs to address the country and say, hey, look, I'm hearing other judges want to join Judge Dugan. That's fine. We'll arrest your ass too. And we're not arresting you because you disagree with us. We're arresting you because you're violating your oath and you're breaking the damn law. And I don't care if I got to put 20 of you or 40 of you or 100 of you or 200 of you behind bars. The people voted for me to conduct mass deportations and reverse Biden's border invasion. And my God, I'm going to do it. Now, Bush was able to do it. Obama was able to do it. Clinton was able to do it. Reagan was able to do it. How come everybody else can engage in non-judicial mass deportations? But I can't? Because you want to slow me down, undermine me, sabotage me, block me? No, it's not going to work. These are no longer judges. They're activists. They are radical left-wing activist hacks. And I'm going to clean them out. You break the law, you're going to jail. I don't care if you got a judge next to your title or not. No one is above the law. Trump's got to make that crystal clear. Crystal clear. So I'm with him all the way, John, but I'm with you. This illegals now, very similar now to the slavery issue. Remember, the Democrats plunged us into one civil war. Don't be surprised if they try to plunge us into a second, because that's just how they roll. Thank you for that call, John. 617-26. Now, they get their asses kicked, if you want to know the truth, just like they got their asses kicked the first time. But I'm just telling you, that's how stupid, that's how unhinged they are. You know, you can't defend the indefensible. And they're trying now to defend the indefensible. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Jim in Rochester. Thanks for holding, Jim, and welcome.
Jeff.
Hi, Jim.
Jeff, so I am as far as your question is the judges being held to a higher standard, of course they should. I'm a commercial truck driver. Anybody that possesses a CDL license, not only are you drug tested, your blood alcohol level, you're only allowed half of what a regular driver's license holder is allowed. I think it's .04 is the CDL, .08 is the a regular driver's license. We have to check our trucks every day. We have to do a circle check, safety check, because we're subjected to being pulled into weigh stations and having our trucks gone through because we're supposed to be safe. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But we're held to a higher standard and that we have to live by. And these judges, of course they should be held. They're protecting law, protecting citizens. Their job is as important as anybody on the face of the earth.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I could not agree with you more. Jim, I completely agree with you. And look, let me just ask, the audience this, and you're dead on, Jim. When a police officer breaks the law, when a police officer engages in illegal, unethical conduct, they hammer him. I mean, they throw the book at the guy. I mean, they put his face or her face on the TV news. They turn it into a cause célèbre. There are protests, demonstrations. They practically tar and feather the person. And there's a huge media firestorm. And I mean, they don't just throw the maximum penalty. They humiliate that person. So why is it different with judges? This idea now, and by the way, for Schumer, of all people, to say you should just automatically believe any judge and bow down to any judge. Those are his words. That the judge is nonpartisan. The judge should be independent from any criticism. Never mind, an arrest or people calling for their removal. This from the guy who on tape at the steps of the Supreme Court, for God's sake, physically threatened to murder Roberts and Kavanaugh if they voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. The guy who led a mob, saying we're coming for you in your homes, in your office, wherever you are. We're going to come after you. You're going to reap the whirlwind. That thug. And now he's going to stand there and say, oh, no, hey, you have to bend the knee when it comes to a judge. It's final. You have to respect the judge. If you don't respect the judge's decision, this is a dictatorship. You phony, you fraud, you. So, no, look, Jim, they don't have a leg to stand on, and they know it. And if Trump is going to save our country, he's got to keep arresting these rogue activist judges when they keep breaking the law, and he's got to tell them to go fly a kite. There's just no other way. Now, quickly, I want to add this, because you're not going to believe me. You're going to say, come on, Jeff, come on. No, this is what I mean. This is the hill they're willing to die on. So, you would think, again, if I was a sane, normal person, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be harboring illegal aliens. Criminal illegals who beat their wives. Maybe I shouldn't, if they got a warrant for his arrest and he's a felon who's come back into the country multiple times. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't try to sneak him through the back door and have him evade arrest and capture by ICE. A, it's illegal. B, we're getting arrested for it now, and we're going to lose our judgeship, our robe, we're going to be impeached, and we're going to go to prison. So maybe we shouldn't do it. No. No, my friends. So, listen now to this. Another Milwaukee County judge joins the rebellion. They're calling it a rebellion. These are their words, not mine. They're now saying that they side with Judge Hannah Dugan and that they are now vowing to shield illegals from ICE arrests and ICE agents. So listen now to this. Another Milwaukee judge has now publicly come out and said, I am Judge Hannah Dugan too. And according to her, this judge, this is in Sawyer County, Wisconsin, Judge Monica, I think it's pronounced Isham. Anyway, if I mangled the last name, forgive me. It's Isham. Okay, Isham. Now, she released a statement saying that there is a growing rebellion among radical far-left judges, not just in Wisconsin, but around the entire country. And that she says, quote, that she has no intention of allowing any illegal aliens to be taken out of her courtroom, and that, in fact, she is going to protect illegal aliens, she is going to shield illegal aliens, and she's going to help them escape and evade capture by ICE. In other words, what Dugan did, I will do, and I will do it proudly, and she's announcing it ahead of time. Now, very quick, who is Judge Isham? She's been on the bench for less than 2 years. She's a DEI judge. She boasts of being, quote unquote, I mean, really the first everything. The first woman, the first Native American, the first minority to serve as a circuit court judge in Sawyer County. Now, here is what she wrote. Okay, this is public record now. Enough is enough. I have no intention of allowing anyone to be taken out of my courtroom by ICE and, listen to this, sent to a concentration camp, especially without due process, as both of the constitutions we swore to support requires. Should I start raising bail money? So basically, should I start raising bail money for myself? Okay, it's an all-out legal insurrection. There's no other way to put it. So it's not just Judge Hannah Dugan or Judge Eric Cano in New Mexico. I just mentioned Judge Isham out in Wisconsin. Now, listen to this. So not only is she saying she stands with Dugan, she's now saying, I'm not going to hold court. Like, literally, we're not going to have a session of court. And I refuse to hold a session of court until I am given permission by either the governor or the state Supreme Court to allow us judges to shield and protect illegal alien criminals from being detained and deported by ICE anywhere near a courtroom. In other words, if we want to harbor them, conceal them, smuggle them, we should have that right. So she then signs off. This is the email that she wrote to many of her colleagues who sit on the bench. Quote, here it is. If this costs me my job or gets me arrested, then at least I know I did the right thing. So that's Judge Monica Isham. Now, hold on. It's not over. So then Milwaukee County Judge Anna Barrios Schroeder literally responded to Judge Isham. And Judge Schroeder said, I agree with you. And in fact, praised Isham for being brave and said, I'm with you. We have to have the right to shield illegal aliens from ICE agents. And so she's now saying, I'm also not going to hold court in session. So now they're going to try to paralyze the court system in support, in solidarity with Judge Dugan, with Judge Cano, you can't make this up, and with criminal illegal aliens. And these are judges? They called themselves a quote-unquote judge? Now, here's my response. Go ahead. Okay. No, I'll tell you what. Right away. I'll tell you what. First chance you get an illegal alien, put him in front of these judges. And then if they shield them, arrest them. That's okay. In fact, they're helping us. Dozens and dozens now say they want to join this movement, this legal insurrectionist movement. Great. We'll get rid of all of them from the federal judiciary. Arrest all of them. But again, just stand back objectively. Arrest me? Let me lose my job? So this is what you're willing to sacrifice everything for? People who are in our country illegally? Who are members of some of the most notorious, brutal gangs in the world? Who routinely murder and rape and molest and traffic children? Wife beaters? Human traffickers? Mass murderers who decapitate people? You're watching in real time the destruction, the implosion, I'm telling you, the suicide of the Democratic Party. This is like taking the proverbial political gun and putting it right to the temple and pulling the trigger. And I wish it was only these judges. It's AOC, it's Bernie, it's Chuck Schumer, it's Pelosi, it's Hakeem Jeffries, it's the entire Democratic leadership. They are willing to go down on this issue. 617-266-6868. So let me throw this log on the fire. And I can't believe I'm even asking it. I don't think this is just so-called Trump derangement syndrome. I don't. I think a lot of it is. Don't get me wrong. I think clearly now this kind of blind hatred, really, it's bordering now literally on the fanatical. Okay? The fanatical, insane hatred beyond all reason or rhyme. I'm starting to seriously ask myself, are they taking money from MS-13? Are they laundering Tren de Aragua contributions? Because for so many people, I'm not talking about one whack job, two whack jobs. Look, in every party, in every country, you have a couple of crazies, okay? That's just a fact of life. You're talking now about the entire establishment of the entire Democratic Party at the national, state, local level, including now an army of their judges who are willing to destroy themselves, go to jail, lose their careers, lose their livelihoods, lose everything to protect and shield the worst criminals who shouldn't even be in our country on the face of the planet? No. I don't. No, this can't just be. And they're crazy. Their mind is not working properly. Jeff, liberalism is a mental illness, which all of that is true. No, they were never like this. Look, not everyone there is an idiot. Here, Amy Klobuchar, she's a senator from Minnesota. She's willing to go down now over this issue. Amy Klobuchar is not a moron. I'm just giving an example. These are some, intelligent people. I don't agree with them. I think they're wrong. But I'm not going to stand there and say these people are, have the IQ of a frog, okay, of a rodent. These are not stupid people. You're willing to sacrifice this? You're willing to lose it all? No. Follow the money. Follow the money. And just as we were completely shocked by what Doge found out, I think we're going to be shocked at who's been giving a ton of money to illegal aliens. And I'm telling you, it's a guess, it's a suspicion, it's an instinct on my part, but I would not be surprised if they are swimming in the Mexican drug cartel cash, Tren de Aragua, MS-13, that they're swimming in money. And that's why so many of them either are afraid they're going to get exposed or they can't stop the money flow. Whatever it is, there is, something is rotten in the Democratic Party. Okay, it's really almost a consensus from the emails, from the text messages, from what I'm getting on Messenger. I'd say 99.99999% of you are saying, if these judges who want to make a stand and get themselves arrested, then give them what they want. If that's the hill you want to die on, we can take care of that for you. No problem. No problem. So, very quick reminder, because I want to go right back to the phone lines. Kuhner Man will be on Newsmax in about 2 hours, at 11:35 on National Report, Eastern Time. And I have a fresh column up. I'm urging all of you to please read it. It's on WRKO.com/Kuhner, K-U-H-N as in Nancy, or N as in National ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner. It is called The Elites versus the People. It's about the need for us to demand that the will of the voters be respected and upheld by the governor, by the House Speaker, by Senate President Karen Spilka, by the corrupt House Democratic leadership, to open up the books and do a Massachusetts version of Doge so we can find out how much of our taxpayer money has been misspent, wasted, stolen, abused, or embezzled. And believe me, it's going to be in the billions and billions. And that's why they don't want to respect the will of the voters, even though 72% of Massachusetts voters in November 2024, in the last election, passed ballot 1, audit the legislature. And they are now blocking this. They are defying the will of the voters. So my column lays it all out and why we need a rally, and we're going to hold a rally on Saturday, May 17th at 10 a.m. It's going to be about an hour 15 minutes. It's not going to be too long. At the steps of the State House in front of Boston Common. And we are going to demand that the will, the mandate, and the will of the voters be upheld and respected. We want open transparency and accountability in our government, in the legislature, and in how they spend our taxpayer dollars. We're not taking no for an answer anymore. So please read the column, send it off to as many of your friends and family members as possible, and please show up for the rally Saturday, May 17th, 10 a.m. at the steps of the State House. Okay, lines are jammed. Joan Ellen in the great state of Colorado. Thanks for holding, Joan Ellen, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. I love you. I love Sandy and Mike, the whole crew. I get up at 4 o'clock to hear you every morning, practically.
Oh, thank you.
I doze off.
Thank you.
So keep it going. Keep me awake. And I actually have a sign on my car that says bad judges equal Democrat activists. And the other day, I have one that says on the other side, are you for or against the USA? And that's in red, white, and blue. And then I went Patriot, which is in blue, or Communist, which is in red. And some guy I go back in the summer and spend the summers on the Cape. But people have to get out there and put some signs on their car. I have D.E.I. must D-I-E. And they don't really care for that sign either. And I wear my MAGA hat. I met you at the movies in Foxborough with your lovely family last summer, and I wear the MAGA hat all the time, and my shirt, Never Surrender, that a friend gave me, and you just have to get out there. I'm 75. I drive back and forth. I used to have a big Buck Biden sign on my car. which nobody ever liked that one, but most conservatives did. And I paid my taxes with all my outfits on and just said, spend my money wisely. But people even do that. And
well, they're stealing our money. I mean, Joan Ellen, it's obvious. They're stealing our money. And, Joan, I've got to ask you this, Joan Ellen, because now it's crystal clear. It's undeniable now that they're putting clearly unqualified people. These are people who have no law degree, no law experience, no understanding of the Constitution. I don't even think they've read it. I don't think they know anything in it. I'm being serious. And they'll take like a Judge Dugan, who's a pure far-left hack, just a rabid Democrat activist, and just throw a robe on her and say, do whatever you want to do. Your job is to block Trump and protect illegals. Do it. And so my question now to you, Joan Allen, is it time to start arresting them? Is Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and is Donald Trump, are they doing the right thing in arresting them, making an example out of them, and throwing the book at them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In most Kuhner country, all agree with you. It's ridiculous. I mean, I taught school in Southie and Roxbury back in the mid-'70s, and I could see it happening back then. They were infiltrating the kids, and I got the heck out of there, came here, but they're doing it here too. And I live near Libtard Boulder, and I proudly wear all my Trump stuff all the time. People, most of my family, I mean, everybody knows my affiliation with and I was married to a wonderful liberal for 42 years until he got cancer. But, it works. But I have withdrawal on weekends, by the way, like everybody else in Kuhner country, when you're not on. I do listen. Well,
Joan Ellen, believe it or not, I don't want to say anything. But anyway, I got to talk it over with management. I don't want to get ahead of my skis. But you know what? If the audience really wants a weekend show, the Kuhner Man is open. Let me just say that. Yeah, we also have podcasts of the whole week's show that we put up on the weekend. So, a best of, or if you've missed a segment or an hour. Yeah, we've got features, unique features. So just honestly, go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN is in National ER, and there's a lot of podcasts if you want more of the Kuhner Man on the weekend. But there could be a weekend Kuhner report. I'm not promising, but it's something I'm thinking about. Joan Ellen, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Eric in Plymouth, thanks for holding, Eric. And welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call. And
my pleasure.
Taking a step further, I'm sorry my phone is on speakerphone. I was at your rally. Beautiful. We have to continue this. Roar every day. What Joan Ellen said, absolutely. And I'm going to take it a step further with these terrorists in black robes, okay? They are just like the 19 terrorists in their ideology, okay? Fanatical, okay? It is horrifying what is going on here. People need to wake up. And the Civil War, I was writing a book about this, God's Honest Truth. The Plymouth Court has that, okay? Way before Dodge, and I wanted an audit of all things to be crystal clear, and they've been doing this undercover for a long, long time. And you know it. You know it. Okay? This isn't make-believe or, this is what they're doing to our kids. And we just need to stand because we're going to lose our country.
Well, look, what we're starting to see now is, notice they keep going on Hitler, fascism. We're finding out now the only fascists are them. The only Hitler lovers are them. The only goose steppers are them. The only jackbooted thugs are them. Okay, we'll be on Newsmax in about a couple of hours, 11:35 Eastern Time on National Report. Should be a good-spirited debate. And fresh column out. I'm urging all of you, please Go to WRKO.com/Kuhner. KUHN is in National ER. There it is. The elites versus the people. Please read it. Pass it along to all of your friends. Let's go to Maggie in Amesbury. Thanks for holding, Maggie, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks, as always, for doing the show.
My
I have
pleasure,
a comment and a question. The other night, I went out with attorneys that I work with, and they're all very liberal. And, they started talking about the deportations and Judge Dugan. And normally I don't say much because I'm kind of the lone wolf in the group. But, I finally said, wait a minute, guys. I said, listen, and I'm asking you, am I wrong in my argument? I said, these people are here illegally to begin with. I said, so number one, they've already broken the law. I said, number two, Trump isn't rounding up, everyone on the street. These are people who have documented evidence of either criminal activity, gang membership, in some cases, actually findings of guilt. And they looked at me like I had just been possessed by a demon and my head was spinning. Honestly, I don't know if I'll hear from half of them again, except that I have to work with them. It was just amazing where they said, where have you heard that? We haven't heard any of that information whatsoever. So I guess I have two concerns that if we really want to get the message out, we need to, take better charge or better, I guess, participation in the media and get this information out. And I'm asking you, am I wrong in my argument with them? They truly made me feel like I was an alien.
Well, I'm being very serious, Maggie. I'm answering your question. It's a bit funny, but I'm answering your question in a very serious way. Now you know my parents, and now you know my grandparents. Because when they would argue with the communists, that's exactly how they made them feel. Like, they're literally saying the sky is blue, and these communists would look around them and say, well, where'd you get that? Like, what? My father, I know it's a popular expression now, but, my father said, they looked at me like I had 5 heads. He would always say that. They looked at me like I was some kind of deformed mutant. And all I'm saying is 2 + 2 = 4. So I just so that you know, everything that you said, listen to my words very carefully, Maggie, are not 100. They're 1,000% accurate. Not a comma, not a letter, not an iota was false. And you're going to say, well, what about the reaction, Jeff? This is why I'm going to do a whole show on this. We need to do a show on it. We're going to have to bring back the Smith-Mundt Act. We had it. It was both Republicans and Democrats, Dems and Republicans passed it in 1948 after World War II. And it was Obama that removed it, revoked it. And ever since he's done this, the Smith-Mundt Act prevented propaganda from being allowed to go on our airwaves. What you're seeing is systematic propaganda, mis and disinformation that the entire corporate media has been peddling now since Trump became president. I'm telling you, most liberals believe that he's just willy-nilly deporting people for the hell of it. That's what they believe. In fact, I'm telling you, most liberals believe, you can look it up, that people are disappearing in the United States. And you're like, who's being disappeared? They're going, no, they're just grabbing people off the streets. And you're like, what? Where are you getting this? It's coming from the garbage media. They're making it up. Like they made up the Russia collusion hoax. Like they've made up everything else. So, Maggie, I'm telling you, it's not you, it's them. It's them. And what they do is they try to make you seem crazy. They try to make you seem insane. They try to make it seem like you have a problem. When, think about it. So, when do criminal illegal aliens have ever had the right to an adjudicated trial with the right to appeal? Like, show me, where? Like, where? Show me, where? And again, where does it say ever in any law that illegal aliens, people who've come into our country illegally, that the Constitution applies to them. You can't find it. So, no, people are not being disappeared. Watch, Maggie. They're going to do it today. 2-year-old kids are being deported, American citizens, babies. No, the mother is an illegal alien who has custody of her 2-year-old child, anchor baby, and Trump's Homeland Security and Homan said, do you want the baby to come with you when we deport you back to your country, or you want the baby to stay here with a family member or foster care or whatever? They said, no, I want my baby. So he's not deporting 2-year-old American citizen babies. But that's how the media is making it seem. Abrego Garcia is not a quote-unquote Maryland man. He's an illegal alien who's part of MS-13, who's been arrested multiple times, whose own wife called the police not once but twice, saying he's living the living daylights out of me. He's beating the hell out of me. Bye-bye.